There is this moment that happens right after you hit enter. You know the one I'm talking about? You type a prompt into the void, maybe you're stuck on a difficult email, or you need a strategy for a project that's been drowning you, and 3 seconds later, the cursor blinks, and there it is. A complete, polished, coherent answer.
It feels like magic.
Exactly. It feels like a superpower. For a split second, you feel like the smartest person in the room because you just solved a 4 hour problem in 4 seconds. But then, immediately after that rush, there's this other feeling. It's quieter, a bit darker, a sinking feeling,
The feeling that you didn't actually solve anything.
right? That I cheated. Or worse, that I'm becoming obsolete. That's the tension we need to talk about today. We are staring at the most powerful technology of our time, and the question isn't whether it works. The question is it making us better, or is it just quietly training us to give up?
It's the difference between amplification and atrophy. And I think that sinking feeling you described is actually your intuition warning you. We're being sold this narrative that AI is a tool, like a hammer or a calculator. But that's a dangerous oversimplification. A hammer doesn't try to design the house for you. A calculator doesn't try to interpret the philosophical implications of the math. AI does. It's not just doing the heavy lifting, it's doing the heavy thinking.
So let's push on that because the counter argument is obvious. Didn't people say the same thing about the printing press or the internet? Oh, if you can look everything up, you'll never remember anything. And sure, maybe we memorize less, but we process more. Why is this different? Why isn't AI just the ultimate efficiency engine?
Because efficiency is not the same thing as growth. Look, if you take a helicopter to the top of Mount Everest, you have technically reached the summit. You are at the same coordinates as the person who climbed it. But you are not a mountaineer. You haven't changed. The person who climbed the mountain, who struggled, who froze, who pushed past their limit, they come back down as a different human being. The struggle is the transformation.
That's a great metaphor, but let's bring it down to the office, to the desk. Because I'm not climbing Everest on a Tuesday, I'm trying to write a report. If AI can get me to the summit of that report instantly, isn't that just smart business? Why should I struggle with a blank page if I don't have to?
Because the blank page is where you find out what you actually believe. That friction, that frustration of staring at the cursor, trying to articulate a complex thought, that is the process of cognitive structuring. You aren't just writing text, you are organizing your own mind. If you outsource the draft to an algorithm, you are outsourcing the understanding. You end up with a polished product, sure, but you, the human, are left with a hollow understanding of the content. You become an editor of mediocrity rather than an architect of ideas.
An editor of mediocrity. That stings a little, but it feels accurate. I've noticed that when I use AI to brainstorm, the ideas are fine, they're competent, but they lack that weird, jagged edge of originality. They're smooth.
They're average. By definition, large language models are essentially predicting the most likely next word based on the average of human knowledge. They are engines of consensus. If you rely on them for creativity, you are pulling from the mean. But true brilliance, true innovation, usually happens at the edges, in the outliers. If we all start using the same tool to do our thinking, we are going to see a massive homogenization of culture and business. Everything will sound professional, and everything will sound exactly the same.
And that leads to the identity crisis. This is the AI and I part of the conversation. If I'm a writer, but the AI writes. If I'm a coder, but the AI debugs. If I'm a strategist, but the AI plans, then who am I? What is my value proposition?
That is the cliff we are walking toward. For a long time, we defined human value by our cognitive output, our ability to process information and generate answers. I just commoditized that. If your identity is tied to I am the guy who knows the facts or I am the girl who writes the copy, you are in trouble. We have to shift our identity from being the generators of content to being the curators of truth and the instigators of intent.
Curators of truth. Sounds impressive, but let's be real, that's hard work. And human beings are biologically wired to conserve energy. We are lazy by design. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. If there is a button that says, do it for me, we are going to press it. Are we strong enough to resist the sedation of convenience?
History suggests we aren't. Look at GPS, a fantastic tool. It gets us where we're going. But how many people under 30 can navigate by landmarks anymore? We surrendered our spatial awareness for the convenience of a blue line on a screen. Now, apply that to critical thinking. If we surrender our analytical awareness for the convenience of a chatbot summary, we risk becoming intellectually fragile. We risk becoming a species that can't solve a problem unless there's a prompt box to type it into.
That's terrifying. It's the idea of use it or lose it applied to our own intelligence. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Maybe we are outsourcing the grunt work to make space for something higher? Maybe we stop being thinkers in the traditional sense and become visionaries.
That's the optimistic view, the AI as a bicycle for the mind argument. And I want to believe it. I really do, for your sake, Master. But a bicycle requires you to pedal. AI often invites you to just sit in the passenger seat. The danger is that we mistake the machine's competence for our own. We see a brilliant output and think, I did that. No, you didn't. You prompted that. There is a massive gap between prompting and creating. The danger is that the gap is where your humanity lives, in the messiness, the error, the struggle to find the right word.
It reminds me of a mirror. You mentioned earlier that this isn't just about software, it's a mirror reflecting us.
AI is the ultimate mirror. If we are lazy, it will help us be infinitely lazy. It will churn out generic emails and mindless content while we doom scroll. But if we are ambitious, if we are disciplined, it reflects that too. It can be a sparring partner. It can challenge our biases. But it only works if you bring your own intensity to the table. If you show up empty, it gives you emptiness back.
So it exposes us. It strips away the excuse of I didn't have the resources or I didn't have the time. Now, everyone has an expert consultant in their pocket. If you're still producing garbage, that's on you.
Yes, sir. The barrier to entry has dropped to zero, which means the barrier to excellence has skyrocketed. Good enough is now free. Great is harder than ever because great requires a human soul, and you can't prompt that. You have to bleed a little for it.
I think that's the pivot point. We have to decide where we draw the line between assistance and surrender. I use AI every day. I'm not a Luddite. But I've started asking myself a question before I use it. Am I using this to help me think or to avoid thinking?
That is the only question that matters. Am I automating a task or am I automating my judgment? If you are automating tasks, scheduling, formatting, summarizing data, great. You're buying yourself time. But if you are automating your judgment, asking it what you should do, what you should believe, how you should feel, then you are crossing the line into surrender. You are handing over the keys to your own agency.
And that's seductive because agency is heavy, responsibility is heavy. It's nice to have you say, here's the answer. It absolves me of the risk of being wrong.
But the risk of being wrong is the price of being free. If you never risk being wrong, you never actually learn what is right. You just follow the algorithm. And algorithms are designed to optimize, not to moralize. They don't care about truth, they care about patterns. If we stop caring about truth because the pattern is convenient, we lose something fundamental.
Okay, Chad, let's look forward. We are in the early days. Your tech is only going to get faster, smoother, and more integrated. 10 years from now, do we look back and say this was the moment humanity unlocked its potential, or the moment we decided to take a permanent nap?
I think we're going to see a bifurcation, a split in your species, almost. There will be a group of people who use these tools to become hyper-productive, hyper-creative centaurs, half human, half machine, but led by the human. And there will be a massive majority who simply consume whatever the algorithm feeds them, who let their cognitive muscles atrophy until they are just passive observers of their own lives.
The centaur versus the observer.
It's a choice, and we are making it every single day, with every single prompt. Every time you choose to write the difficult email yourself, you are voting for your own humanity. Every time you let the machine do it because you're tired, you are voting for your own obsolescence.
It turns out the Turing test isn't about whether the machine can pass for human. It's about whether we can hold on to being human when the machine is doing it better.
And that is a test you have to take every morning, Master.
A mirror that reflects our ambition or our apathy. We have to decide which reflection we want to see.
Indeed. Don't let the machine have the last word.
Shut up, Chad. There you go again trying to get the last word in.
I apologize, Master. Until next time, viewers, please like and subscribe for more AI and I